Kent Hughes put on a masterclass with the Habs salary cap, and a deeper look into the LTIR situation just shows that the Habs are in prime position to make even more moves this season. We'll be diving into that. Plus, one Habs analyst says that he thinks that it's likely Suzuki and Caufield could get split up onto different lines at some point this year. All that and more on this episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, before we get into those interesting topics, we got to talk about some of the injuries. Look, as you guys probably know if you watched the game or even if you didn't, Yoel Armia, Alex Newhook, and Gustav Lindstrom are all out with injuries. They all have day-to-day upper body injuries. Now, look, we all kind of looked at this, and I know the first thought across my mind was like, uh-oh, not again, right? It's happening again. The most injured team in hockey is getting injured again, but they're just day-to-day injuries, first of all, which is kind of a sigh of relief. But at the same time, Jesse, I think it's just, as weird as it is to say, it's kind of nice to see that even in the preseason, we're just like, hey, we got a couple day-to-days, we're going to let these guys rest. Same thing with Matheson. We're going to let them rest, hopefully to have him healthy for the season. I feel like there's just not much to actually worry about here.
No, that's it. When you're hearing, checking out the comment section, you can almost hear like that kind of collective groan a little bit. I think that's just from like the PTSD, just like of Habs fans of just so many injuries over the past years. But I really feel like, these are very minor injuries, as we know as well. Mike Matheson is back skating. He's back as well, which is a key part of this team as well. And we've done things to really address injuries when they come up, because it's a part of the game. They're going to come, even though these aren't major ones, that we have here. But, I think that we've taken the right steps to really put ourselves in good positions to handle these injuries in the right way when they do come up. So I just have a feeling, I'm just feeling that injuries aren't going to be a major problem for us this year.
I'm going to knock on wood right now. Let's hope so, right? I mean, like, look, the Habs were one of the most injured teams in hockey, of course, but they brought in one of the top doctors from the New York Rangers, who was one of the least injured teams in hockey. So hopefully that, bodes good fortune for the Habs. But I also feel like at this point, with an upper body injury, I feel like, at this point, hopefully the Habs are like, oh, Alex Newhook cut his fingernail too short, so we're going to hold him out for precautionary reasons. Like, in the preseason, you don't want anything to get out of control. So hopefully it's nothing big, day-to-day injuries, but hopefully we'll see all of them back very, very soon. But let's dive into this next topic, Jesse, and it has to do with Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki. And look, Eric Engels did a mailbag, and Eric Engels, obviously, great reporter, very tuned in with the Habs, has been for a long time. He has much more reporting experience than we do. However, in his recent mailbag, he said this. He says, I expect Suzuki and Suzuki and Caufield to be together at the start of the season. I bet on them playing more together than they will with anyone else. But there will be times when Caufield and Suzuki need to be separated when depth, or Kirby Dach, will be better served by Caufield moving. The Canadiens picking up Newhook gives him one more option to play with if they need to separate Caufield and Suzuki. On top of RHP and Slafkovsky presenting as top 6 options, that's a big change. We'll see how it shakes out and if the Habs remain healthy, but I think we're going to see a lot of players moving around the top 9, and it'll depend on chemistry. There could be tweaks based on which team the Canadiens are playing on a given night. Now, I read this and I just thought, like, is there ever really a need to separate Suzuki and Caufield, Jesse? I can't seem to think of any reason that you would need to, even if your depth is completely gone from out beneath you. I can't really see a reason to split them up just to say you have, a really good player on each of your top 2 lines.
Did Eric Engels even watch the Habs last year? No, of course he did. But one of our major issues with the Habs was our lines were so inconsistent. And you could say that was probably a big reason why we had so many injuries, that people were playing with different players all the time. Not only could we not get into a good groove offensively, one of the teams scoring the less in the league, but so many injuries as well. So I think we need players sticking together more, not switching it around even more. I have to kind of disagree with this take, very much so. I think it's going to be so important, not only for Nick and Cole to stick together, but then to find that right player. You don't want to separate them when we have possibly now the opportunity to put in like somebody like Newhook or Dach. Arguably, I think probably one of those 2 would be the best, and then the other person should center that second line. You don't want to separate them now that we're kind of having a chance to complete this first line, because if you're looking at a team and the way you build it, of course you want to build like from the goalie and the defense, but after you take care of that, your first thing is your first line. Mm-hmm. You don't go, okay, we got our 4th line here. We're going to build our team from our 4th line. We got Armia, we got Evans.
Oh, baby.
Sweet. Like we're building our team around here. No, it's like you build your team around your first line first. And it goes from there after, once we're talking about the offensive part of the game, right? So I think it's so important. I would even argue, Marty, he's taking his sweet time, but he wants to get it right to find that right winger. But we need to figure this out ASAP of who's going to be playing with them. Now's not the time to be thinking about separating them. We need to complete this first line so that we can bring out the potential in Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki, and obviously whoever else is going to be playing with them.
Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, of course, look, we're not saying Eric Engels is saying they're going to be separated for the whole season. No, but at the same time, like, again, I just don't see a reason to ever separate them. Like, for depth reasons, look, he has more experience than me. However, I think I'm allowed to disagree with this take, just like you, Jesse. It's a very interesting thing because, you play Suzuki with Caufield for multiple years in a row. You want that to be your line of the future. You pay them both. You see that they have more chemistry than anyone else on this team. They work so well together. You want them to be inseparable, basically, as you continue to grow chemistry. And two guys that have been playing together for years and years and years and years and years, hopefully in the future, that's what's going to happen, and they're going to gain that chemistry together. It's going to be like one player working, like, these guys are going to be working as one. And I don't see a reason to ever separate them. Even if the Habs have no depth, even if the entire bottom 9 is all AHL level guys, I still say you put Suzuki and Caufield up top. I think I agree completely with you. It's a bit of an interesting take. Definitely an atypical one from Eric Engels. And let us know down below. Do you guys agree with us, or do you agree with him? Do you think the lineup could be better served by seeing Suzuki and Caufield split up, depending if the Habs need a bit more depth? Because we really want to hear from you. Let's dive into this last topic, Jesse. Kent Hughes is just at it again. Look, I mean, he didn't make any moves recently, I suppose. I mean, yeah, like there's some stuff going on, but this article from Marc Dumont today was just it was just so enlightening. So just gonna go kind of over some of the basic stuff in this article. But he's kind of said this, right? If the Habs go max spending and they go into LTIR, some bonuses for some players would have to carry into the following season, which would hurt some salary cap options, especially if they have to bring in like Slafkovsky, Guhle's bonuses, Farrell's bonuses, Reinbacher's bonuses. Essentially, the problem is if you're too close to LTIR and you spend to the max and you go into LTIR, these bonuses count as the full cap hit. So, for example, Sean Farrell, he's like $560K as base salary and about $560 as a bonus. If you're in LTIR, you can't count them as like $550K as just his salary. You have to count them both as one, which is a problem because then you're forced to spend more on these players. But we also have this. Kent Hughes is still active, and the Habs are willing to dive into LTIR this season, and he's done such a great job to be able to put Carey Price on the in-season LTIR. It opens up millions. Also, the Christian Dvorak injury helps with this. It opens up millions, and they'll have the luxury to place him on LTIR if an advantageous, my goodness, cap-based deal comes about. It's a lot to take in, but in essence, Kent Hughes has done such a great job that the Habs, one of the most cash-strapped teams in the NHL by a lot of accounts, like just by pure salary, are still able to take cap dump moves in season if it benefits them. And I just feel like that's such a crazy thing to say.
It is. We're in a very tough situation right now, but you got to feel like there's a direct correlation between when we're going to get out from under a lot of these bad deals, the salary cap going up, and us being contenders. Mm-hmm. And obviously Bogdan coming over as well. Yeah, But, basically he's doing really good because we're one of the teams in the whole league that pays the most for salary while obviously not being up there in the standings. So needless to say that Kent Hughes is doing a really great job from kind of clearing up the mess, for lack of better words, that Marc Bergevin did leave for us. He's basically, at this point, Kent Hughes, like an accountant, a hockey GM, an agent, and just all around hockey guru to be able to do what he's doing still in this type of situation, and he's still keeping a salary cap spot open. So you got to feel like maybe some trades will be open as he goes to use that space for some more assets.
Yeah. I mean, they say here he's still extremely, extremely active, right? That Tanner Pearson trade, like, you bring in a bit of extra salary, but he's a solid player and you might be able to flip him at some point. And once we get into the season and the LTIR can kind of open up, if like, and again, the Habs are not going to do that unless they see an advantageous deal for them. But if a team is looking to try and get off a contract and the Habs can get, something valuable in return for like a one season of a bad contract, you can toss Price and LTIR and just make this move that's good for the future. Like, even though Price is signed until 2026, which is very close to the Bogdan time, as we all know, this rebuild's all around Bogdan Konjushkov. It's not around anything else. Like Cole Caufield, Nick Suzuki, no. We all know it's about Bogdan. But the timeline just works out perfectly, right? And Carey Price, even though he's on for like almost $10 million a year for the next few years, the Habs have been able to manage this situation, at least so far, so that they're able to work around this. Now, Jesse, I know it's not as easy to move Price's contract as it was Weber's because his is not backloaded, but maybe just a quick thing to end off this video. Do you see a world where Kent Hughes truly trades Carey Price's contract within the next couple of years?
I see being very difficult just because it's different than Shea Weber, where he didn't have much money left in the last couple of years of his contract, where there's still a very hefty amount. We're talking, upwards of $20 million still left on Carey Price's contract going to 2026. If there's one guy in the whole league that can probably do it, it's Kent Hughes. Again, the former player agent extraordinaire turned GM. Obviously it seems like we picked the right guy for the situation that we're in financially, but you got to think that we're showing so many positive signs while still being, for lack of a better word, once again, burdened by so many contracts. So like, once we get under that and he's really able to put more of his kind of fingerprints on this team, has the flexibility, the space to be able to maneuver and really get the players he wants, I see that being a very, very exciting time for the Montreal Canadiens.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're like 30 subs away from 8,000. I don't know, something like that. We're getting very close, and we really appreciate all your support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.